Hey guys, it's me Devin. So I'm here to do my September wrap up and October TBR. So for September I read a total of 7 books, and out of those 7 books the average rating was somewhere between 3.5 and 4, which is really good for me. Now a lot of the books I read in September were all sequels, so I can't really tell you much about them. So let's get started. The first book I read was a middle grade book, and that was The Gathering Storm, which is book 1 to the Changer series by H.K. Varian. Now this is a middle grade all about 4 middle schoolers who learn that they are part of a line of mythological shapeshifters who can shapeshift into different type of creatures. These 4 students learn that they can shapeshift into one of the 4 following creatures: a red fox, a black panther, a lightning bird, and a seal. And it's basically about them figuring out their gifts, and they actually have to save their town. Overall, I gave this a 3.5 out of, or 4 stars out of 5. When it comes to younger middle grade books, I tend to rate the books as if I was an 8 to 12-year-old person, because that's who this book is meant for, even though I am 20 years older than that, even though I'm 27. So if I didn't do it that way, this book would be more like a 2. Since it is so fast-paced, there's not much plot. Since this is so fast-paced and there's not much plot and character growth, but it is meant for an 8 to 12-year-old, so I always keep that into consideration. So if I was an 8 to 12-year-old, I would probably give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And for the Kpopathon challenges for September, which was Monsta X, this completed one of the bias challenges, which was Ki-hyun, and his challenge was to read a book under 300 pages, and this book is 164, I believe. The next 2 books I read were part of the same series, and that was book 3 and 4. And that was books 2 and 3 to the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. The second book, which is Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, and the third book, which is Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, all follow this all-girls boarding school that on the outside look like a snotty, and on the outside it looks like a snooty all-girls prep school, but on the inside it is a secret facility which trains girls to become spies. So it just follows our main character, Cami Morgan, and her friends on all their different adventures involving this school and trying to become a spy. So both books I gave 5 stars. Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy completed the challenge, one of the bias challenges for Won Ho, and his challenge was to read a book about something you love, and I love Ali Carter. I love the first book in this series, so this is something I love, Ali Carter and spies. So that completed that challenge. And Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover completed the fandom challenge, which was Mon Baby, and that was to read a book with navy blue, teal, or magenta on the cover, and her jacket is navy blue as well as the squares on the spine. So I really enjoyed the series and cannot wait to finish the last 3 books. The next book I completed was by the same author, Ali Carter, and that is All Fall Down, which is the first in the Embassy Row trilogy. This follows a girl named Grace who, when she was about 12, witnessed, and this is all about a girl named Grace. Now there are 3 things you need to know about Grace. She's not crazy, her mother was murdered, and someday she's going to find the killer and make him pay. So when she was younger, her mother died in a fire in her antique shop, and everyone knows that it was an accident except for Grace. Even though the autopsy report says it was an accident, she knows that she saw someone kill her mother in that fire. So she's had a few, run-ins with trouble, and she is now 16 years old, and she is sent to live with her grandfather, who is, I think, the U.S. ambassador, or works for the U.S. ambassador at the U.S. Embassy in this small town in Russia, and she lives on Embassy Row with him. Embassy Row is where all the different country embassies live on this street. So you've got like the U.S. Embassy next to the French Embassy, which is next to the Russian Embassy, and so on and so forth. So this book is all about her trying to fit in This book is all about her trying to not get in trouble, but also try to find her mother's killer. And I really enjoyed this. I listened to this in audiobook as well. And I really love that the main character, you know, she seems to have some sort of PTSD. You know, she keeps seeing flashbacks from her mother's death, you know, in her everyday life. And she's always talking to herself, and she feels very stressed out about it. And she doesn't like being in, you know, closed spaces. And there are times where, like, she can smell the smoke from the fire. So I like that there was some sort of mental health representation in this. And I really cannot wait to finish the rest of the series. And the last 3 books that I read in September were all part of the same series. And I don't own them yet, so I'm not going to show you. I can only show you the first book in that series. And the books I read, by the way, I gave All Fall Down 4 stars. And the last 3 books that I read were all part of the Hatchet series, which I read the last 3 books, which are Brian's Winter, Brian's Return, and Brian's Hunt. I gave Brian's Winter and Brian's Hunt 5 stars, and I gave Brian's Return 4 stars. Now, if you didn't read Hatchet, Hatchet's all about this boy who is on his way to see his father after his parents' divorce, and his father lives in Canada. And on the way there, the pilot of the bush plane he's in has a heart attack, and the plane crashes in the middle of the Canadian wilderness. And it's all about Brian trying to survive in this wilderness by himself with nothing but a hatchet. So I really enjoyed this series, and I definitely recommend the audiobooks as well. The audiobooks are only 2 to 3 hours long, and if you listen to them any faster than 1x speed, you could be done in an hour and a half, 2 hours. And just so you know, Brian's Winter and Brian's Hunt and Brian's Winter is an alternate timeline to Brian's Hunt. It explores an alternate ending to Hatchet, and the 4th book and the 5th book, Brian's Return and Brian's Hunt, all follow Brian's Winter's storyline. So the first 2 books, Hatchet and The River, follow the same storyline. And the last 3 books, Brian's Winter, Brian's Hunt, Brian's Return, and Brian's Hunt, all follow Brian's Winter storyline. So I really enjoyed this. And Brian's Winter, the 3rd book, completed 3 challenges for the Kpopathon. It completed the challenge for No Mercy, which was a book about survival. It completed one of the X-Clan challenges, which was for Fighter, which was a book with a male main character. And it completed I Am's challenge, which is one of the bias challenges. And that was to read a middle grade, and Hatchet series is considered a middle grade series. So that's all for my September wrap up, and now for my October TBR. So for October, we've got the Kpopathon all month long, which this month the group is Vix. And if you guys did not see the challenge announcement video, I will leave that link down in the description box below. And there's also going to be another readathon, which actually starts tomorrow on the day I'm filming this. Today's the 7th. It starts the 8th. And that is the Magical Readathon Charms Extra Credit readathon thing. And I'll explain later when I get to it. But for the Kpopathon challenges for Vix, I've got 5 books picked out. Now, they may not be set in stone, but we will see when we get to it. The first challenge for Kpopathon was Superhero, and for that I'm going to be reading Powerless by Tara Lynn Childs and Tracy Debs. The challenge was to read a book involving superheroes or supervillains, and this involves a girl who isn't a superhero, but is surrounded by them and wants to be one because she's tired of being ordinary when everyone around her is extraordinary. So I liked Tara Lynn Child's Sweet Venom trilogy a lot, so I'm hoping I enjoy this book. The second challenge was Hide, which was to read a spooky book, and for this I'm going to read Toil and Trouble, which is an anthology of 15 tales of women in witchcraft. I normally don't read books involving witches, I've just never really enjoyed any, so I'm really hoping I enjoy this, and I haven't really read any anthologies, so hopefully this gets me into more anthologies. I already have each, I don't know if you can see, I have each separate story tabbed out already. and I'm going to try to read one a day if I can, because there's 15, so it'll only take me 2 weeks to complete. The third challenge was the Conception Trilogy, which was the 3 albums that Vix put out that had to do with Greek mythology. And for that challenge, it was to read a book involving any type of mythology. So I'll be reading another anthology, and that is 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, edited by Ellen O. and Elise Chapman. This is an anthology of different Asian mythologies. I hope I really enjoy this because I really love Korean mythology and Korean culture, so I'm hoping that I get to learn more about other Asian mythologies in this book. The fourth challenge is the Bias Challenge, and I don't have many challenges planned out. I do have one challenge which I've already started, and that was Leo, which was to read a romance. That could be young adult or adult. And I decided to pick up The Game of Love and Death by Martha Brockenbrough. I've had this book for a while now, and I've really been intrigued with the idea of there being characters who are the embodiment of love and death. I'll give you a quick, I'll read the synopsis, the top part of it. It says, Antony and Cleopatra, Helen of Troy and Paris, Romeo and Juliet, and now Henry and Flora, which Flora and Henry are the 2 main characters of this book. For centuries, love and death have chosen their players, they've set the rules, rolled the dice, and kept close, ready to influence, angling for supremacy, and death has always won. Always. Could there ever be one time, one place, one pair whose love would truly trip the balance? So it follows 2 main characters, Flora, who is an African-American girl who dreams of becoming the next Amelia Earhart, and it also follows Henry Bishop, born a few blocks and a million worlds away, a white boy with his future assured, a wealthy adopted family in the midst of the Great Depression. So you've got the main plot, which is Henry and Flora's love story, but you've got the separate plot, which is about the character Love and Death, who is trying to win this game that they've set. Love has chosen Henry, and Death has chosen Flora, and I cannot wait to finish it. And the final challenge for the Vix Kpopathon was Starlights, which was to read a book with stars on the cover, and for that I've chosen a standalone, which will probably rip my heart out, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. It has stars here, and the title actually gives the book away. They both die at the end. And yeah, so I'm excited to read this, but I'm also very nervous, and we will see what I think. So that's all for the Kpopathon challenges. Now on to this magical magical extra credit readathon thing. So basically G over at Book Roast came out with the magical readathon, which was the Owls and the Newts. The Owls and Newts are both exams that take place in the Hogwarts Harry Potter world. And the first took place in April and the second took place in August. She decided to come up with this extra credit readathon to kind of help us with the long wait until next April. And this readathon is for the class of Charms. She asked everyone what their favorite class was or what their favorite class challenge was. And everyone chose Charms, which was to read a fantasy. So this readathon is basically, there's 5 challenges you could complete. Each challenge has to be a different book. You can't combine them as far as I know. And for every challenge you complete in this week-long readathon, it gives you an extra day to start your Owls readathon next year. So the Owls start in April next year. If you complete 3 of the 5 challenges, you can start 3 days earlier than everyone else with your reading to help get you as many owls as you can. Now, out of the 5 challenges, I decided to pick 4. And out of those 4, I don't know how many I'm going to get to, but I will try. Now, this Charms extra credit readathon takes place April 8th, which is tomorrow when I'm filming this video, and it ends April 14th. Sorry, I'm looking this way. I've got my list. So the first challenge is Aloha Mora. Now, it has to do with different spells. And for Aloha Mora, it's to read the first book in a series. And I'm actually going to read a book that I plan to read during the Kpopathon. And if not, I will pick something else, but I plan on reading Powerless. I think this is a duology, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I will pick a different book for this. But this is another short book. I believe it's only about 230 pages, so hopefully I can read this week. The second spell is Accio, and that challenge is to read the book that's at the top of your TBR, and that book is Only the Good Spy Young by Allie Carter. This is the 4th book in the Gallagher Girls series. I've been waiting since middle of September to get to this book. And I can't get to this book until the 9th or 10th of October because I use Scribd, and I love Scribd because they say you can get unlimited audiobooks and ebooks and magazines and stuff like that. However, Scribd's been giving me a problem where if I complete one audiobook, any other newish audiobooks that I've added to my saved list won't be available until the next billing term, which Scribd is only about $8-9 a month compared to Audible. However, it hasn't given me this problem before, so my goal is when the new billing cycle starts, the 9th or the 10th, I'm going to grab this book and the next 3 books and download them to my phone. So that way, after I finish one, they won't take the 5th and 6th book away from me and make it unavailable till November. So I'm really hoping to get to this. I'm hoping Scribd does not screw me over, because they did that back in September. I read 2 audiobooks, had to wait until September, and then when September came, almost all of them were unavailable till October. So I'm really hoping I can figure this out, but this is like my main priority. The next challenge is Incendio, and that challenge is to read a book with fire or flame in the title or with a fire or flame on the cover. So for this, I'm not sure if I'm going to complete it, to be honest. The book that I chose is not a book that I really want to read, but it is a book that I've started that I do eventually want to finish. So I don't know if I will read this week or not, but that book is Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini. And the last challenge I have picked out is, so for this one I might end up skipping it, I'm not sure, but one book I do have potentially on TBR is In the After by Dimitri Lunetta. I started reading this back in August, I believe, or July, and I read halfway through last year and I wanted to finish it, so I started reading it. And I'm on page 110, listening to the audiobook, which I have downloaded so it won't ever be taken away from me. And the cover is a light gray, even though there are some parts dark gray on it, but it is a very light cover. So that's it for all the books I planned for my readathons. I know I have quite an ambitious TBR, but last month I read 7 books and I'm proud of myself, so I'm hoping I can read just as many this month. So that's it for my very, very ambitious October TBR, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!